In this episode, we talk about the importance of a morning routine and self-care practice, the power of a small, intimate gatherings, and how deeper, more meaningful connections and conversations can occur. And we talked about how slowing down in a fast-paced world can allow you more space and fresh ideas to occur.
Welcome to Man Quest Define Meaning, where we help men navigate modern life, find their true purpose, and redefine manhood. I'm your host, James, and each week, inspiring guests share their journeys of overcoming fear, embracing vulnerability, and finding success. From experts to everyday heroes, get practical advice and powerful insights. Struggling with career, relationships, or personal growth? We've got you covered. Join us on Man Quest Define Meaning. Now, let's dive in.
Today, I have a guest, Luke. How you doing, Luke? You okay?
I'm doing very well, James. I'm really excited to be on this podcast.
So, let's start. Tell us about yourself.
Oh, gosh, this could be long. Where would you like me to start?
So, where did your transformation start?
So I think going back to, I share this quite openly with people because I think coming from a sporting background, we know today that probably one of the biggest problems that a lot of the sport athletes face is that loss of identity. When it's stripped away, that part where it just seems to stop and you go, oh, what do I actually do now? So that happened to me at between ages of 19 to 21. So I fell into depression, basically. And what happened was I had that ego of not really wanting to open up about my emotions. But as the further you bottle it up, it's like that pressure cooker just gets harder, higher, and it's just ready to explode. And then I just got to that point where I had a breakdown. I isolated myself and I thought, do you know what? I had great family support. So I was always talking to my mum and dad. But the one thing I didn't do is talk to a professional. And then that's when I decided, do you know what? It's now time to probably acquire some more professional help. And that's what I did. I acquired, and again, I was exposed to it. So being in the professional sport of football, there was a sports therapist. There was a guy there that you could talk to, and I never used him. I just thought, I'm okay, I'm fine, I know what I'm doing, I'll figure it out on my own. But then it got too much, and that's when it all started for me, and it unfolded from there.
So, with regards to that big change that you went through with losing identity of yours, what was it specifically that you lost?
I lost, obviously, the purpose of what am I actually doing now? Because I had been so used to just showing up, everything handed to me in a way, such as you're training at this time, you've got to do this job, you've got to do that. Because obviously I was doing the footballing role as a YTS it was at the time. But then it was, I had this education, I had this football coaching qualification. And then once, and like, it didn't even go through my mind that I had an end date. It was the fact that here's the time, whether you get a pro contract or not. And I didn't get a pro contract. I didn't think about, oh, actually, what am I going to do after this? And then when that actual reality came in, that's when I lost myself. I was going, hold on a minute, what am I actually going to do here? The qualifications I've got, the education I've got, actually, and at the time I was 21 and I could have gone the university route. I really resented the university route. I didn't feel aligned with it. I didn't feel connected. I didn't have that, oh, I want to do the university route. Oh my gosh, I was just trying anything and everything. I had part-time jobs and I just felt frustrated. I felt deflated. And I thought to myself, I don't know where to go and what to do. But I realized and I told myself that I didn't want to work for anybody because I'd worked with my dad's engineering. He'd given me a bit of pocket money, if you want to call it, back then, just to keep me going whilst I was still trying to make it in football. But I found myself then turning to the gym, the training. I think anybody who's a business owner, anybody who's an entrepreneur or a founder, I do believe a gym is a great way to build that patience, build that discipline, build your character. For me, especially, I found that place a bit like, in some people's world, like a bit like a church. I felt myself. I just walked through those doors and I thought, this is something I'm really enjoying. And I did feel when I was playing football, I did have a bad body image and it was triggered by the banter. It was triggered by the guys in the change room that used to dig at us. And because I was in a very low mental state, you know what it's like, James, you get quite sensitive when people do tend to say things to you, such as they call me fat, they call me chubby. And I really wasn't. If I look back, I was lean. I wasn't like six pack abs, but I was lean. But I was covering myself up in the changing rooms. I was just in a really bad way. I think now they call it obviously body dysmorphia. I didn't even know the term back then, but I was just very insecure of my body image. And that's where then obviously I was doing, even when I was doing pro football, I hired a personal trainer. I didn't even have the money. My dad was helping me. I think it was like £20 an hour at the time. So I was doing things to help me build muscle to improve my body image and that self-love. And yeah, I guess for me, being in the gym environment, that felt safe to me. I think that safe place that where I could express myself as well. Just put my earphones in, my headphones on, and just zone out or just do something that I enjoy. And then that actually led me, funnily enough, onto getting qualified and becoming a personal trainer. And then my life transitioned from there.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. The first thing is purpose is a huge one, especially for men, because I think almost, I don't know whether the last 30 or 40 years, we've always had this purpose of being a breadwinner, going out to work, to bring back money, to be the provider. And I find that at this moment in time, the one thing I feel men have lost a bit is their purpose at this moment in time, because suddenly women are going out to work at the same time as men, and men are like, I don't know what to do. I thought that was my job. So there's this confusion. So with regards to your purpose, what was it that triggered? So when you lost that purpose of yours, what was it that actually triggered that feeling of depression? And what specifically action did you take to break free from that?
Yeah, I really like that, what you've just shared there about the purpose. I do agree with that. I think it comes down again to a lot of communication. I think for me, when I suffered in silence, and that built it up for me. In terms of the purpose side of things, it was more just that feeling free, that pressure eliminated from me from actually speaking to somebody, actually how I feel, and knowing that they are someone that I'm not connected with, such as like a family member or a close friend at the time. I felt very lonely, didn't have my friends had all gone off to university, they was in a different world, and I just felt that they had always saw me as this professional footballer. They had deemed me as, remember me when you're famous, Luke. That was the stigma that was around what I was doing. So it was really hard to give them that feeling of, hey, I'm really struggling, even though probably at the time, if I was to share it with them, they wouldn't be too fussed. But I think the biggest trigger for me was I knew that I couldn't carry on this way. I'd always been a super positive person. You know, I mean, at school, everybody knew me as this like social bunny kind of guy. I was always giving people great advice. I was a great listener. I was great at acting drama. I was an outgoing and outspoken person. I was such a people person and a people pleaser, and I'd lost that completely. And I thought to myself, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was going, hold on a minute. This is not Luke. This is not the guy that even 2 years ago that people would even recognize. I've become unrecognizable, but in a bad way. And that's where I had to do a lot of inner work. And I think the biggest thing that I always say to people now, especially when they're in a lost place, is it starts with you. And I think that's what I had to accept. I had to tell myself, Luke, no one is going to do this for you. No matter how much you vent and how much you cry or how much you offload to people. Yes, there'll be people that will listen. But if you truly want to change where you are and who you are as a person, you must be willing to change yourself. And that was a commitment that I stepped up to the mark and did. And it was the best decision I ever made.
Yeah, that's a big one. Even as a coach, as a speaker, you can give every people as much advice and help as you can, but it comes down to one thing. They've got to do the work. You can't do the work for them. And that's the big thing, I think, with a lot of people. They think, oh, I'll get a coach and the coach will do all the work for me. But no, they will give you advice, they will give you help, but you have to go and do the work. And I think that's a big lesson. So what did you specifically start to do that changed that image, that purpose of yours?
So I think it was, again, acquiring help. So building a bit of a team. So again, being in sports, you always have a team. So you have more than one pair of eyes. In football today, it's endless. I think there's probably more staff than footballers. That's how mad it is with nutritionists, analysts, sports psychologists, strength conditioning coaches. So I'd been a little bit accustomed to that. So I knew how important it was for somebody to be a specialist in their field and that you could directly go to them for that specific problem that you wanted to solve. So for me, I had previous trainers to say, hey, here's my problem. I don't like the way I look in myself. I want to build muscle. I feel scrawny. I feel small. I want to fill a shirt out. Come on, when you're 19 years old, that's what you want to do. You want to look good in a shirt. You want to get some female attention. Yeah, you want to do a flex. That's what I was like. I want to get noticed. I want to feel to be made important. And I think that's a big thing there, what I've just shared. People love the feeling of feeling important. So when they walk in a room, it's nice to be recognized that, oh my gosh, you're in great shape, or you look really confident. All those things. And I know that from coaching males and females over the years of actually putting them through a transformation, because I had always wanted that myself. So I could relate to that. And when I had hired a coach, I've hired multiple coaches and some have been great, some haven't been so great. But when I actually started to see that progress and that I started to notice the shift in not just my image, but ultimately my actual behavior and my habits and my actions. And that only came from being held accountable to a high standard, because I had always had high standards and I was always somebody that would put a lot of pressure on myself. I'd always beat myself up. And I can say it's a good thing and a bad thing, but that's just because I'm very driven and ambitious. And I always wanted to be the best that I possibly could be. But I also realized that my potential was only going to be hitting a glass ceiling if I was to run it on my own. So having a bit of a team behind me, somebody overlooking, so a second pair of eyes, a second mind, they was going to see things that I couldn't clearly see, because there's only one thing that I'm really focused on, that is me building muscle as an example. But what they see is they look at it from a wider scope on, but have you got this in order? Are you looking at your digestion? Are you looking at, I'm just going, I want muscle as an example. So they stretched my thinking and actually allowed me to become more aware of what it is that I actually truly wanted to achieve. And that was a massive learning process for me. And I think that's why I've naturally transitioned into coaching, because I had realized when I was at my lowest that that's something that really helped me come out of that rock bottom place. So I'm now providing someone with a tool that I would have wanted smack bang in front of my face back then when I was at my lowest. But I went into therapy first, just talking, not even investing any money. It was free with the football club. But then I decided to obviously hire trainers. And then that's when I started to invest more in myself.
Yeah, there's a couple of key points. Having people around you, coaches, so important, because as you said, they show you your blind spots, the parts you can't see. And I think that's super important. But it's also like, I've been on this journey of inner work for the last 8 years, and I can see the transformation of where I was, whether that's in relationships, business, whether that's fitness and health. And they give you what you don't see, as you said. And it's very easy, especially as a person, to get so sidetracked, so laser focus on something that you miss all that around you. And yeah, and let's go back to when you then started as a coach. Where did your journey lead to then?
So it's really exciting to share this with you as well, James, because I had got my qualification as a personal trainer back in 2015. And you're going to, when I tell this, it's actually quite ironic that the name of the business that I set up was called, and still is called, Musclecoach. That's what I wanted to build myself, was I wanted to build muscle, right? So it was like living through that, what I always wanted. So I created Musclecoach. That was my business name, trademarked it. I parked it because when I was actually on the course that I was doing it on, like the intensive, like it was like 6 weeks in person PT course, the guy that I met on there, he had traveled on cruise ships and he was a fitness trainer. So he was traveling all the world. He says, oh, Luke, you're in a different place every day. There's loads of women. You work in a spa. And do you know what? He said, it's fun. You have so many, experiences that time of your life. You can never take it away from you. And that, to me, it was never going to be about what money I was going to earn, even though when I was playing football, I wasn't on much money anyway. It was ultimately about the time and actually knowing that wow, the time is now. This is made for me. I was sold. I was literally, once he said women, I was like, I'm sold. Because I had a very isolating period. I'll be honest with you, as a man, I didn't have any interaction with a woman for 9 months because I was so laser focused, like you say, being tunnel vision on, I want to become this footballer, I want to do this, I want to do that. So sacrificed a lot. But just going back to the cruise ship, the guy had spoken about how you develop as a business person and you do a lot of sales and stuff. And I thought to myself, I'd lost a lot of confidence in myself. I think that was the biggest thing that I lost. But I also lacked self-belief because I thought, actually, I've committed over 17 years of my whole life to a sport that, grown up as a kid, I was a Glory Man United supporter. I'd always saw myself playing in the theatre of dreams. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. However, where I am now, I wouldn't ever change it. But that had to be parked. But I wanted something that was going to really change me and give me a reset. And that's what the cruise ships did for me, because I couldn't continue playing football because she was 9 months away at sea. It was a massive commitment. But I also wanted to make a massive commitment. I didn't want to do something for 30 days. Everybody wants like a 30-day fix to their 21-day challenge. They don't work, right? You've got to make a big commitment to yourself if you truly want sustainable change. So I did the 9 months. I went down to London in the academy where I was getting taught things such as like yoga classes, Pilates classes, boot camp, TRX. But I was also doing public speaking, where I had to deliver a health seminar around the gut and the digestive health and actually talk about the bloodstream, how medications work. And look, I'll be honest, that the whole point of that presentation wasn't just to deliver it free. It was to lead them to a health program that the ships provide, which you get a commission off. So it was a bit of a hard transition for me because it took me a while to believe in the product and stuff because I'd not used it. And I thought, I don't know whether this is a bit scammy or whatever, but eventually it was a really good thing. But I did it as a lifestyle where you can't just take a pill and expect it to be magic. Your lifestyle's got to be in place, such as your exercise, your nutrition, your hydration. We know that anyway. Yeah, the cruise ship thing was the biggest turning point for me because I'd never, ever been on a cruise ship in my life. My mum and dad had traveled on them. And my dad had said to me, he says, Luke, I think that would suit you down to a T because you're in a different place every day. It's exciting. It's change. It throws you into discomfort. And boy, did it throw me into discomfort when I rocked up at that ship with 2 suitcases and looking up at about, I don't even know how high up it was, but I was literally bricking it. And I walked on and I knew that I was going to commit into 9 months. And I started my journey in Vancouver. And that's where it really started. And I always recall on that experience because it was the best thing that I ever did. And I'll actually share with you on screen. I think you can see that. That was the
MS Nordam.
That's it, MS Nordam. That was the first cruise ship that I went on. And I have that in front of me every time I work because that was my new lease of life when I'd come out of depression.
Nice. I like it. It's always the big experiences which completely transform you. For me, the biggest transformations have always been relationships. And I've been through 5, and each time, each one ended, it was almost like I had to upgrade to the next one.
Okay.
And I can imagine that transformation of going on to the ship completely upgraded you almost.
Oh, definitely upgraded me. But what I will say, James, is I wanted to quit every day for the first 6 months. I wanted to get off the ship. But I think if it wasn't for where the ship was going, if it was staying in like Europe and going around England, I probably would have took a flight home. The fact that the cruise ship transitioned over to Australia, New Zealand, and I know I was only like a 24-hour flight away from home, but that kept me there. And obviously I was talking to my mum and dad every single day, and I was struggling with the sales. I was struggling because I wanted to have time off the cruise ship, and you do work long hours on cruise ships. Anybody that works on, they'll tell you it's long hours, it's tiring. Sometimes you're not really earning loads of money, but the reality is in what department I was in, if you didn't hit a sales performance target, you don't get much time off. Yes, you're allocated time off, but more you hit those targets, more time you had off. So that's what was the driving force, because you're sat in the gym, you're looking out the window, it's Caribbean, it's Australia, you're looking at Sydney Opera House coming in and you're going, I want to be out there and having fun, right? But you can't if you're not hitting your targets. That's what drives you to go through this rough place. And everybody knows, you'll understand, and anybody that listening in to this episode will know that it gets rough, or it gets tough before you come through the other side. So I use it as a bit of a breakdown, like you go through many breakdowns, but then that breakthrough's coming out the other side. And that's what I did for the first 6 to 7 months. Is I was breaking down and I was getting hit hard. I kept falling down and I kept getting rejection after rejection. No, I don't want to buy that. No. And then suddenly in the last couple of months, everything changed.
So after receiving each rejection, what got you back up to go, let's go again?
It was just the fact that this is a 9-month commitment and I'd committed. So I kept telling myself, Luke, you wanted to commit to this. And that and the great thing as well is everybody was leaving after 7 days or 14 days or 5 days. So you had a reset all the time. It wasn't like they was going to stay there for the full 9 months and that you was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to see that same person again. And I've already tried to offer him this health program or something. He's just going to be like, just get out of my way. So it was nice, the fact that sometimes you had those cruises where you was just like, oh gosh, I cannot wait for them guests to go because they were so annoying in the gym. They was always talking to me and they just talked about how much money they was earning or whatever. So that's what kept getting me up. So if I had loads of rejection, I'd know that, well, within 7 days, they're leaving in a new influx of thousands of people who are going to come on board where I can just bring that energy again.
Because that's I think one thing people generally struggle with is the sense of the idea of being rejected, and they almost feel disheartened. But I feel as though the more that you get rejected, the more you have a different perspective. Me personally, I've had a different perspective that you just go on to the next one. Yeah, there's still times when I might get, because I get what's called an anxious attachment. So there's still times when I get a little bit anxious or attached to a certain person, but that I see that more as me having to grow a little bit more to learn more about myself. And as you said earlier, setting a higher standard and doing the work to overcome that.
Yeah, massively.
So after the cruise ship, where did your journey go from there?
So I did 3 contracts. So I was out there 2.5 years. And when I came home after it was my second contract, came home and there was a guy in the local area that had basically was growing I would say, a fast growing online fitness coaching company. And I had thought about working with him anyway, as like him being my coach, because he had built muscle, he looked good, he had great transformations, you know what it's like, social proof and stuff. And I hired him anyway, but he was looking for a coach. And I applied and he had a conversation with me and he just basically said, look, Luke, I would like to work for us. I'd like to be part of the company. And I was thinking, hold on a minute, I'm joining a cruise ship here. And then here's me being like, oh yeah, I know the job now on a cruise ship, but yes, there's Wi-Fi out there. You're all over the world. I was like, yeah, what I can do is I could probably do a bit of part-time work. And he said, look, you can do whatever you want. I would really like you to be part of this because I think you're a great coach. I think you're a great guy. You've got great morals, great values. Anyway, so I took on the job. And then within a couple of weeks, I couldn't keep it up. Like I just couldn't keep the workload up. But being in all different time zones, clients weren't getting responses. So then basically what I did is I actually left the contract early. And I came home and worked under this guy, this online coaching company. So again, the thing is though, James, going back to what I shared earlier about feeling trapped and being lonely and falling into depression, even though this job sounded amazing, I fell back into that rut because I was on my own. I was sat at my mum and dad's house. I was living from home and I was sat behind a laptop. I had this freedom. I could run my own schedule. I had clients. I wasn't not busy, but I was bored. I'd been so used to being on a floating town where there was something happening all of the time and you was going all to these different places. I took on this role and I really resented it, but there was something holding me back though. Because remember, before I said about going onto the cruise ships, I'd started my brand, which was Musclecoach. And then I was thinking, yeah, but no, I want to keep traveling. I love traveling, but I want to travel with my laptop. Because I think at that point, it was very fancy. It was very like, oh, this is the new way of life. I know people still talk about it today. Imagine with your laptop in Bali and earning £5,000, £6,000 a month and you're just chilling. That appealed to me at the time because I didn't have a girlfriend and I was like, oh, do you know what? I still want to feel free. I don't want to feel like I'm stuck. But that didn't really come out for me. That actually made it completely worse because I was thinking, I'm not earning necessarily great money, yes, I've got freedom, but I'm on my own all the time because all my friends, they was at uni. They was finishing uni. I think they had jobs and stuff. I think I was like 25 at the time. And then what happened was, I was literally, this is how bored I was and being lonely. I used to walk 5 miles to the gym that I was at and then 5 miles home, just listening to podcasts. That's how bored I was. I was like, I've got to get out of the house and just basically get rid of some time. Then when I was walking back, there was 3 women putting up a banner outside our local area, and it was on a retail park. And she said, "Hey, you look like a gym guy. We're opening a brand new gym. It's going to be over there. It's called Anytime Fitness. Do you want to come and join? Or do you want to come and have a look over? We've got an exclusive deal on at the moment." So I was like, I looked at my fob. I'm like, I'm already at Anytime Fitness. I'm at the one in Mansfield where I was living at the time. I was living in Sutton, but Mansfield was the one I was going to. And I was like, hold on a minute. I'm a personal trainer. I'm doing online. Maybe this could be my personal training position. This is where I could start my business. So I went home. I said to my dad, Dad, I've just walked back and these women have said, oh, there's a brand new gym opening in August. And at this time, it was only May, or like May, June time. And he says, Luke, get the fuck out the house and go and apply for that role and get yourself in a gym and be around people. You are not born to be sat behind a laptop. Go and talk to people. That's what you love doing. That's what makes you happy. So there's me. I send a message. I apply. I sit and have an interview. Obviously, as a personal trainer, generally speaking, if you've got the qualification, the gym will generally take you on, generally speaking, just because obviously they're not paying you a wage. You're actually like a value add-on to the membership, but you are either doing hours for the gym, so that saves the gym money by paying out for somebody to do the cleaning or whatever. So you're technically wiping down equipment, you're putting weights away, and you're just having conversations and running inductions with the new members. So anyway, long story short, I signed up to the gym. I was one of the personal trainers. I had my T-shirt with personal trainer on the back, and here goes. Musclecoach that I'd set up back in 2015 was finally coming to life in August 2018.
So where did it end up?
So Musclecoach, oh gosh, personal training. So I was doing online coaching, and then I was doing personal training. Do you want to know what happened to the business, or?
Yeah, what happened to the business and how did you get into podcasting?
Oh, okay, get you. No worries. So obviously I love to have conversations. I think that's quite clear anyway, obviously having a conversation with you. I'm quite a people person. I'm quite outspoken. So with the personal training, again, I felt quite trapped because I was stuck in one place, but I built a business where I'd become oversubscribed. So I had a full diary for a year solid. I'd got great transformations. People done photo shoots. I helped people with the problem that I had, which was I didn't love the way I looked and felt in myself. So I unlocked that. That's what I did is I got them feeling confident. I got them empowered. I got the guys inspired. I literally got male and females, anybody that wanted to work with us, I got them, and I built a fantastic community with a clothing brand. I ran boot camps. I ran health and wellness conferences. I was probably the best local PT in that area. Not to try and blow my own trumpet, but generally speaking, everybody knew who I was. And then I built a team. So I actually built a team of 5 coaches. I actually helped 5 coaches who come underneath the Musclecoach brand, like under the tree. I help them all leave their full-time jobs, which anybody going from self-employed role to self-employment, it's a scary leap. So what I did is I mentored and coached them through that. But they already been part of the community. So people got to know who they was anyway. People weren't like, who's that? It was like, oh, I'm one of Luke's clients. I've done a photo shoot transformation with him, or I've been with him for 2 years. And then I've just said, again, seeing potential in them, I've gone, if you ever decide to be a personal trainer, I'd love to have a conversation with you about it. And that's all I did. Planted a seed. I didn't say, come and join me. Come and join me. They then started thinking about it going, yeah, I'm not really happy in the role that I'm in. I'm an accountant. It's pretty samey. I want to change. A guy who was a butcher, same thing. Maybe, yeah, a lot of people keep asking me if I do diet plans or do training plans because they're inspired by and this guy was in his 40s. And anyway, I helped them. So I built a team. I'd got great results. And after 2 years, that kind of folded, which, I mean, just to give you context, at the end of 2023 is where everybody went their separate ways. So it got back to, all right, I'm a one-man band. I'm back to being a solopreneur. What next? Where do I go from here? I'd exhausted the fitness. I've been coaching for 9 years. I've done fitness ever since I started out in the industry. And I thought to myself, I'm capable of more. When you're in that place of running your own business, you want to learn more. You want to develop. You get to yourself where I feel a bit stagnant. I feel like I've hit a plateau. So that's when I'd hired psychology coaches. I hired a marketing coach. And then I started creating what was actually a program that I'd launched. By the way, I'd invested, and I say this because I really want people to have context, because I know people always are very scarce about money and they're very reluctant and hesitant to spend money. But sometimes you've got to understand that money does come back, right? You can earn the money back, but time you can't. So what happened was I launched Master Your Time with my fiance, Master Your Life program with my fiance, and I spent £10,000 on the launch with a drone video, promo video, going all out on it, and it failed massively. Nobody signed up to the program. It was a complete miserable fail. Got all the t-shirts, got all these welcome packs, spent so much money and time into it. And I share that because sometimes you make these mistakes. You do things that doesn't always work out. But what happened though, James, I fell into that place again where I was lost. I lost my identity yet again. I was like, what am I doing? Who am I? And I found myself, by doing the fitness transformations, it was always about a lifestyle. Everybody said you're quite holistic with it. You talk about the gut health. You're quite deep. You're very personal with your clients. So that led me on to thinking, I believe that in business, it's important to run a business, but it's also important to have fun outside of the business. So really, the name of Beyond the Boardroom, which is obviously, I've always liked the word Master Your Life, but a lot of people go, what does Master Your Life mean? What is it? That's your own definition. You can make that your own. That's the most important thing. There's no right or wrong. But mastering your life's always been time freedom for me. I value time over money every day of the week. But with that, the podcast came from me attaching my identity to just business alone. I had no life outside of work when I was doing personal training, when I had a full diary. So then that's when I created Master Your Life. And then Beyond the Boardroom was, I thought, do you know what? I want to have conversations with business owners and I want to hear this story. What's really interesting, James, they say, hey, Luke, I want to come on your podcast and I want to share this and this AI thing and that. And I'm like, I don't want to hear about that. I want to hear your story. I want to know what made you become the person that you are today. What did you go through? What was the adversities? What was the challenges? What did you have to go through? How did your business start? Everybody wants to give away how they do things, but I want to know who they are as a person. And that's what will help people become that identity that feels connected, and you actually then have happiness. So that's where I've gone on this slowing down journey with psychology coaches. I'll never forget, he sat me in a coaching session and he said, Luke, slow the fuck down. And he didn't say anything after that. He just sat staring at me, and it was very awkward, actually. It was like awkward silence on the call. You can imagine. Because I started going too quick with everything. I was all over the place with my business. And that's what made me feel lost, is when all my thoughts was just all over the place. So I had to do a lot of identity work. I had to do a lot of deep work where, again, what do I want? I had to do a lot of life stuff. I had to do a lot of business stuff. I had to map out. I had to get clear on who I wanted to help and stuff. And then that led me on to thinking, I want to coach people, but I want to build a new community. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the podcast because that's a hobby and I really enjoy having conversations with people. But also, I'm going to learn from these people because they're the audience that I want to target anyway. Because they're I enjoy and connect with a lot of that because I understand it. Because when they say stuff like, oh, I was burnt out, or my relationship started to go down south because all I spoke about was work. When I was on holiday, I was still answering emails and taking calls. And you're like, what's the point in having a holiday anyway? You're spending, what, £3,000 on a holiday and you're still on your phone and emails. But I get it because I've been there. But the thing is, that's one thing. But then the element of the tool is I've obviously had multiple diverse coaches that I still wanted to run a program that would help people build what is going to be their dream life and dream business. But what does that want to be for that person? What do they want? Because a lot of people don't know what they want. And I didn't know what I wanted for a long period of time. But the way that we actually do that is by having, what we're doing today is having a conversation, creating space and just seeing, let's not put any sort of expectation on what am I getting or what does it look like. Let's just see where it goes. But we know that there is something deep inside of you where you're going, I want to change. I want to make a commitment. And that's what I found in myself. There was something deep inside of me saying, I want to change, but I don't know how to just yet. I don't know what that looks like just yet, but I knew I wanted to change. Do you know what? As soon as I made the commitment, I figured it out anyway. That's the issue. Everybody wants to know everything before they've even started. Just start.
I think it's loss of identity. I think because I'm going to throw this out there that there's loads of people who are doing well, who perhaps they enjoy what they're doing, but it's perhaps not what they're meant to do. And I feel as though it's the losing your identity to what that is, to what starts that transformation that starts to create that person who you're meant to be in this lifetime. And I feel as though it's this loss of identity again and again, which takes away the outer layers of who we think we are. And I feel as though it's this idea that as you start to peel away these layers, you start to find your purpose, you start to find your groove, you start to really get in the flow. And like you, I did a chemistry degree. I came out of the chemistry degree as like what they're doing now. Went back onto my dad's farm, which I'm still there at the moment, but I'm only doing like 1-2 days. And I know for sure that's not who I am. So that's something I'm shedding at the moment. But it's also, I did PT, nutrition, mindset. I shredded that layer. I did laughter yoga. What else have I done? Lots of different things. But each time, it's almost created this thing inside me of really finding what gives me joy, what gives me passion, what really propels me, that point where I just flow. And this is like yourself with the conversations and the podcast. This podcast has got to the point where it's just flowing and it's leading on quite nicely to the next step. I don't know the second or third step. I only know the next step. And I feel as though this loss of identity is almost a peeling away of who we truly are at the core. And it's about that journey.
No, I just think that's so absolutely spot on, James. I think we can definitely, we are on the same page with that. And there's a lot of correlation there. I think just where you talked about the free flow element, it's exactly what I love to do with the podcast. People always beforehand ask me, what do you want to know? Have you got any questions? You got any material that you want me to look over before I get started? People, and I do understand, are so logistical. And the issue with so much logistics and information is there's no creativity. So it lacks that. And the loss of identity is, I believe, and this is me talking from my own experiences, I've always lost my identity when I've lacked creativity. And I've lacked that playfulness. As soon as I strip away that, yes, there's times where you're serious and there's times where you have to just be, like you say, pushing for something or whatever it may be. But if I talk about the experiences that I've shared on here today, as soon as I actually started to have a bit more fun and do things that had no sort of metric attached to it, I actually started being more myself. So that's when I started to think, do you know what? What do I want? Coming back to that question, what makes me tick? What are my hobbies? What do I enjoy doing? What am I great at? Questions that people, if you went to somebody and went, let's say you obviously know each other, you go, can I just ask you a question? And you go, okay, yeah, cool. What are you great at? They'd probably go, well, they'd hesitate. What are you not so great at? But it's the same thing when I used to say to people about the health and well-being, the image. I go, so what do you love about yourself when you look in the mirror? And they wouldn't know. And I said, what do you hate about yourself? They go, I hate my nose, I hate my shoulders, I hate my legs. See, this is the thing. We're not doing this kind of work, that deep inner work, but then we're not being creative and playful with it. But we're not actually working with who we are and then creating this identity and who we want to become. And that's where I lost myself, because I was always sabotaging. I was always beating myself up, but I was always attaching it to a metric. I felt that I was defined by a number, or I was defined by somebody else's opinion or somebody else's feedback. So that's where what you've said about the loss of identity, I can understand it, because I wasn't doing things to what I wanted to do. And that's what I find a lot with today in society, is that they're doing it for a number. They're doing it for a metric because they're looking at the pay packet each month, but they hate what they do. And they're investing a quarter of their whole entire life. And then the rest of their lives, they're watching TV because they're numbing themselves from the pain that they actually hate what they do when they wake up. But the reality is you can change. You can change the narrative, but there's only you that can do it. And that's where I know it's hard. And a lot of people might be listening to this going, yeah, but Luke, you don't understand my story. Or, I don't understand your story. I don't, because I've not had a conversation with you. But I know what I've been through, and I know what it's had to be for me, and I know what is going to help. But you've got to be open-minded and be willing to receive. And in a way, I had to surrender. That's what I had to do as a man. And that was hard. That was the hardest thing I had to do. The word surrender, the word let go, the two words let go, receive, be open. Oh man, it was like somebody had stabbed me. It was, it hurt. But I was like, if I don't, then I ain't going to ever change.
Yeah, that's man's quality, is taking action, but continually taking action. The female side of things is just to let go, surrender, just believe. Just believe. What do you deem as a healthy man?
What do I deem as a healthy man? I definitely feel you are healthy if you are every single day starting your morning right. Like, I am so strong on the first 15 minutes of your morning. So for me, I used to do things such as scrolling through my phone, answering emails, serving others before myself. I think the first 15 minutes for me is all about serving myself. So I focus on the mind and the body first thing in the morning. So it's a bit of movement. It's intentional. So I write intentions and I focus, I read, I do stuff like that. I'm not going to say I do ice baths in the morning, because I don't. I do them in the evenings. There's all these, again, secret high performance routines, but I don't focus on people. I don't even do the hour morning routines. I just focus on the first 15 minutes. But I think as well, not only is that for yourself, but I also feel that what people are lacking today is being around great people. Find your people. I think a healthy man is a healthy man when he's sharing with others. That's what I personally feel. And there's not enough men out there that are willing to be a part of a group and actually share open and vulnerably. Obviously, looking after yourself is important, but I also think being able to share that with other men as well, like-minded people. I do believe communities. I'm going to be talking on a panel this weekend at a gig, and we're going to be talking about men's work and community. I've been on retreats with men only and stuff, and I think you can see that hesitancy. You can see that, yeah, you go first. I'll just sit back and watch and listen first. Whereas I think a healthy man would be somebody that, yeah, is not only looking after themselves, but is being with others too and being able to share openly and vulnerably.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've done mankind projects, and so like a warrior weekend and other ones. And even last night was the first time in a while I went to a men's circle. There was 5 of us around the campfire with a bit of songs, a bit of chatting, some open up, to have 5 minutes to chat about what's going on for you. And it's that last night just reinforced again how I feel men especially, how important it is to have other men to chat to in a gathering and to be able to connect. But I feel as though we were chatting about it last night, actually, that when I think sometimes men think that being around other men, hugging other men, is almost, it's gay.
Yeah.
And there's stigmatism that, oh, if you hug a man, you're definitely gay. But we lack that kind of touch, that connection, to be able to have body on body with another man, to be able to connect to that sense of connection with that person from a heart-to-heart connection.
No, I agree. Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think, I'll be honest, I'm intimate with like my client relationships. I am somebody that I stand by working with a small group of people always. I don't take on high numbers. But in coaching, it's quite easy to see today where there's so many numbers and a photo looks shiny from the outside, where you see all these people gathering together. Wow, they must be doing well if they've got all those numbers there. Wow, you don't know the person. It's absolutely impossible to understand the person on a deep level if you've got 300 people and you're operating that system. So for me, I think small groups, like what you just said there, 5 people, I run workshops, like Master Your Time workshops and vision workshops, where there's no more than 6 people in the room. But I can put my arm around them. I can sit right in front of them and be a bit close to them and coach them. And it's very uncomfortable when they're sat on a chair and I'm sat on a chair and I'm looking directly at them when I'm coaching them. Because normally people will look down. Because that's what most people do today. They look down, they don't look up. I say, look up, look at me. Stop looking down. I know you're so used to looking at your phone. And everybody, when they walk by people, they'll look down or look out the way. It's awkward, right? People aren't used to. I say hello to every single person. People think I'm weird. Abby's like, why do you say hello to Abby, my fiance? She's like, why do you say hello to every single person you walk by? I'm like, because it could make the day. You could make that person's day by just saying hello to them. Not going, hey. But it's like, hey, I do it when I'm running. Literally, I've made a few people jump when they're walking with the dog, but I'm just like, hey, good morning. How you doing? It's that connection. It's that conversation. We know this anyway, James. I bet you've had guests talk about it anyway. We're so digitally connected, but we're not personally connected. That's the problem. We're supposed to be connected more than ever today, but we're more disconnected. That's why I'm strong on loneliness. I'm strong on community and touch as well. Yeah, gosh, hugging a man. As guys, as much as you go, oh, it's gay, I don't want to do it. You do it and you have a brother hug and you're like, listen, bro, I've got your back. You don't come away going, God, you're gay. But you come away and think, nice one, man. I've never had anyone like, because they just, as men, you just get on with it, crack on. And I know there is, sometimes you need that bit of tough love, but at the same time, I think in what we do today, it's important to have that compassionate and empathetic side as well.
Yeah. What do you see as the biggest challenge for men in today's society, or is it in today?
I think it's what I struggled with, James. It's just, it comes down to being able to vulnerably talk about how you're feeling. I think we brush it off too easily. So if I was to ask you, like, how are you, James? You'd go, I know you would openly talk. If I say, how are you, James?
I'll say, right, I'm feeling good. I feel connected. I feel in the flow. But then I'll just talk about perhaps the fear that I might be feeling or the anger. But you're right. Majority of men say, yeah, I'm good. And that's it.
Yeah. Okay, so what you just said there is already, though, by you talking and going off, yes, I'm good, I'm feeling connected, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. That other person on the other side switched off and has got to move on. They're in too much of a fast-paced world. They can't spend time with it. It's like they got to go. It's, yeah, not bad, next. Yeah, not bad, next. Yeah, not too bad. What do you mean not bad? Not bad, not good. One of them. It's like people are too stressed, short breathing, tight, and got to go to the next, when it's like, it's space. So it's being able, when I've had conversations, you've probably had the same, and you've probably been asked these questions. And I'm talking from when I had therapy and stuff. Do you know when somebody just sits there and listens, and you just sat there, and they've asked you a question, and then they don't say anything. So they might go, so can you tell me what's been happening since the last time I saw you? And I'm sat there, and maybe I don't want to answer. I don't want to say anything. Maybe I'm just feeling, I don't want to share this. I'm not open enough to share this. But then that therapy or the therapy guy just sits there, or the woman, doesn't say anything. Just sits there. And then it's that space, it's a bit of delay. And then eventually, because you feel a bit like, well, paid for this therapy session or something, actually there is something. See what I mean? You've slowed down. It's not like, you're not about it on to the next. It's just that people, I feel, are not, like on the other side, everyone's guilty of having too much of someone's time. They feel that guilt. It's like, if you have a conversation with someone, you feel bad for wanting to have a conversation with them because you think, I get it all the time. Like I used to have it all the time, James. Like people on the gym floor, I knew my time. I knew when my next client was. And they was chatting to me and they go, yeah, so I'm going to go now. Mate. Honestly, I don't want to take up too much time. I know how busy you are. I'm like, oh, hold on a minute. We can chat. It's all right. And then they'd be like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, we can chat. It's fine. What have you been up to today? Anything fun? Couldn't believe it. And he was like, oh, Luke's really approachable. Luke's this guy who wants to know about me. And I just feel the biggest problem with men, and I think it's just the generation and everything, is because we're so distracted. We've got 1,000,001 things to do, and we never seem to get that to-do list boxed off. We're just such an autopilot answered human being. We're very autonomous, like we're just next auto, where I just think sometimes that slowing down, like when you said that space, you go to that circle, you drop them in that environment. We're running a retreat in October, and we've had people say to us, what's this retreat all about? Oh, it sounds weird. Is it going to be all this woo-woo stuff? And we're not going to that level, but it's a fitness retreat, but it's not going to be strict. It's going to be a relaxing place. But do you know what? The connections, the conversations, the relationships, and how people will open up because they're relaxed, I think will be very powerful. And I think that's what I feel is the missing roadblock in today's world, is that everybody's great when they're on holiday because they're more relaxed. They know they haven't got to watch the time and they've not got to be somewhere. But I think we can create more of that. Like what you said, well, the men's circle, obviously I do retreats and stuff and workshops. I do believe it will have people open up a little bit more, because I just don't think people open up because they feel that they haven't got the time.
I think it's finding your tribe.
Oh, massively, yeah.
Like now, since my 8-year journey, I'm quieter around certain groups of people. Even now, there's certain groups of friends that I haven't been in contact with for many years. But then I'm starting to be quieter around certain people, but then I'm quite lively around others. So it's finding your own tribe, people who align with what you do and with you, as you said before, your values, your actions. And I think that's a big key as well. How can men start to slow down more?
Create some space in your week. So just create some daily space. So for me, it was, again, I started small. I think there's too much overwhelm around trying to get it all right from the get-go. So, for example, if people talk about morning routines, they say, yeah, win the first hour of your day. Some people don't want to spend an hour. What they're going to do, they've never done it before. So trying to slow them down, and they look at that hour and they go, oh, sacking this off. Fed up with this already. Just go with 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Just, do you know what? In the morning, put your phone in a no phone zone. Put it out of the way. I tell you what, don't even have your phone in your room. I don't have my phone in my room. We have an alarm clock, a Lumi alarm clock that just brings natural light into the room. We know this anyway. Put your phone away. Wake up, sit with a pen and piece of paper, or just sit with your thoughts, and just sit with a cup of tea or coffee, whatever, or just a water. Just sit there. That is a good start. And then what it might be is like, look at your week and go, what do I normally do? Because the weekends, I live for the weekends. Live for the weekends. I don't live in the weeks, I hate what I do. That's okay. That's fine. But what you do on the weekends then is really important to start opening up some space. So what you're going to do that's fun this weekend, right? Bring fun back into it. So it might be like, you know what, James, I've seen this time and time again where I've brought a group of people together and took them on a walk, on a hike. It's not really expensive. And the conversations, they start talking about experiences in their life that they recall on and go, oh, it was really fun. And so that's space, but that then provides an experience. Then that experience makes you think a bit differently about going into your next week. And then when you sat with that space again, you got a little bit of white space in your calendar, like 10 minutes in the morning, you start having that slowing down and you start thinking, do you know what? Yeah, like COVID. COVID did it to everybody. Loads of people left jobs, they left relationships, they changed everything. Why? Because, well, the world stopped for a second. Not time kept moving, but the world slowed down. Everybody had space. Everybody had time to think and, oh, wow, never get this again. So I think just start small. Have some space. Put it in your calendar daily, but 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and just try not have any distraction. Don't put the TV on, don't put the radio on. Just sit there in a bit of silence. Sounds weird, I know, but just give it a go.
Yeah, silence is hard. Thank you very much, Luke. For those who want to get in contact, what do you do and how can they get in contact with you?
So predominantly what I do is I coach people on building the dream life or building the dream business or a mixture of both. So again, talking heavily about space, slowing down, having a conversation. That's technically what I do. So whatever your problem is, obviously I'm quite honest with people. I'm not going to say, oh yes, I'm the guy that can help you without having a conversation first. But if I'm not the person that can help you, I've obviously got a wide array of people in a community that I do collaborate with that I'm sure we can have a conversation and point you in the right direction. But you can find me all over socials. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm online. Just put Luke Beastall or put Master Your Life and you'll see all pages in. And yeah, I'd be happy to connect and have a conversation.
Thank you very much, Luke.
Thanks, James. I really enjoyed this episode.